On Saturday, the CEO of Telegram was arrested in France, and obviously, and for very clear reasons, a lot of people are deeply, deeply concerned and view this as an attack on freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and the dissemination of information both in France and worldwide. Telegram is obviously a very, very large publishing platform, not just encrypted personal communication and messaging, but many people use Telegram for extremely large audience live streaming and information publishing. So it is a massive, massive social media platform. But until just a few moments ago, we did not have the exact details from the French government and French officials of what exactly the CEO of Telegram has been charged with. We do now, thanks to a press release that was just put out. I'm going to go over and read the whole gosh darn thing to you now. Once we do that, I'd also like to talk a little bit about the reaction of some fairly prominent individuals about what this means. And when I say prominent individuals, I'm talking like Elon Musk, the CEO of Rumble, and of course, William Shatner, because who doesn't want to know what Captain Kirk thinks about the CEO of Telegram being arrested? Let's scroll down. This press release came out in both French and English. I'm going to read it to you in English. You're welcome. This came from the Tribunal Judiciaire de Paris, the prosecutor of the Republic, on today, August 26th of 2024. All right. Pavel Durov, founder and CEO of instant messaging and platform Telegram, was arrested at Le Bourget Airport in the outskirts of Paris on Saturday, the 24th of August, 2024, then taken into police custody at 8 p.m. This measure comes in the context of a judicial investigation opened the 8th of July, 2024, so almost 2 months ago, following a preliminary inquiry initiated by Section J3 Junalco Fight Against Cybercrime of the Paris Public Prosecutor's Office. This judicial investigation was opened against person unnamed on charges of, and then I'm just going to read the charges to you now. Complicity, webmastering an online platform in order to enable an illegal transaction in organized group. Refusal to communicate at the request of competent authorities information or documents necessary for carrying out and operating interceptions allowed by law. Complicity, possessing pornographic images of minors. It's a big one. Complicity, distributing, offering, or making available pornographic images of minors in an organized group. Whew. Complicity, acquiring, transporting, possessing, or offering or selling narcotic substances. Complicity, offering, selling, or making available without legitimate reason equipment, tools, programs, or data designed for or adapted to get access and to damage the operations of an automated data processing system. Complicity, organized fraud. Broad. Complicity, association with a view to committing a crime or an offense punishable by 5 or more years imprisonment. That's interesting. Laundering of the proceeds derived from organized groups' offenses and crimes. Providing cryptology services aiming to ensure confidentiality without certified declaration. Providing a cryptology tool not solely ensuring authentication or integrity monitoring without prior declaration, and importing a cryptology tool ensuring authentication or integrity monitoring without prior declaration. Okay. It's kind of all over the map. We have a lot of different things there, ranging from, I think, generally bureaucratic cryptology declarations and statements to the government within France. Okay. But I think where it gets into really the larger ones is we're talking about acquiring, transporting, possessing, offering, or selling narcotic substances and complicity therein, and specifically the pornographic images of minors and possessing and distributing them. All right. I'm going to continue. I'm just going to read the rest of this now to you here so you have all the details. The investigative magistrates in charge of this preliminary judicial investigation have requested a co-referral of the Center for the Fight Against Cybercrime and the Anti-Fraud National Office for the pursuance of the investigations. It is within this procedural framework in which Pavel Durov was questioned by the investigators. The custody period was extended until the 25th August 2024 by an investigative magistrate and can last up to 96 hours, that being the 28th of August 2024, given the applicable procedure for organized crime offenses as referred to above. So what does that mean? So that means essentially Pavel Durov is currently in custody. It was originally set to go until the 25th of August, so yesterday, that would be Sunday. But that can last and has generally been just extended until the 28th of August, so that's 2 days from now, so that'd be Wednesday. But again, with these sorts of things, and as they are doing these investigations and assumedly questioning Pavel Durov rather extensively, that could change. He could be released early. That could get extended, depending on what he gets charged with and what they discover during the questioning. That could be extended indefinitely, right? We really don't know. But as of right now, they say that based on what they have today, they can hold him until Wednesday. All right, let's talk a little bit. This is wild. This is really, really wild. Let's talk a little bit about what some of the individuals around the inner tubes are saying, because this is crazy. I want to start with William Shatner, because most people are out there right now deeply concerned about what this means from a freedom of speech angle, right? They see this as an attack on a significant publishing and messaging platform, right? And we're seeing a lot of those sorts of things happen right now all over the internet. Just as an example, Locals, the platform that I publish on predominantly, and I love Locals because it has such a fierce stance protecting freedom of speech. They've been dealing with issues with Brazil. Now, Brazil has been going after every publication platform that they can, which allows people to publish things that are negative of the current political party that's in power in Brazil. For example, if you talk about how the most recent Brazilian election, which was filled with fraud, has had any potential fraudulent issues in it, the Brazilian government goes after not just the person talking about that, but the platform itself. So if you go to, like, for instance, lunduke.locals.com, where you get a lot of my articles, and you're in Brazil, you'll get this notice. It says, "Notice to users in Brazil. Because of Brazilian government demands to remove creators from our platform, Locals is currently unavailable in Brazil. We are challenging these government demands and hope to restore access soon." Now, these sorts of things are happening all over the map, not just in Brazil, not just with Locals and Rumble, but with Twitter and Facebook or X and Facebook and everything else. So it's reasonable to jump to the conclusion that this attack, this arrest of the CEO of Telegram is a direct attack on not just Telegram, but on potential freedom of speech across the board. Let me see, where is this here? Do I have this post from Pavlov? There we go. Chris Pavlovsky. I'll get to William Shatner in a second. Chris Pavlovsky is the CEO of Rumble, right? That company also owns Locals. He posted this on X yesterday. "I'm a little late to this, but for good reason. I've just safely departed from Europe. France has threatened Rumble, and now they have crossed a red line by arresting Telegram CEO Pavel Durov, reportedly for not censoring speech. Rumble will not stand for this behavior and will use every legal means available to fight for freedom of expression, a universal human right. We are currently fighting in the courts of France, and we hope for Pavel Durov's immediate release." So, I mean, we're seeing, and Elon has made similar statements. So here, Chris Pavlovsky retweeted this little picture that showed Telegram with a line crossed out, and TikTok a line crossed out, and then X and Rumble left, and one down, 3 to go, and basically making the statement that, yeah, these governments are coming after free speech and publishing platforms. That's the implication anyway. And Elon Musk retweeted that and said, yes. Right. He's very clearly making the statement that, yeah, this is what he's viewed. And considering the attacks that the European Union have made on X and the demands they've made against Elon Musk, that's not entirely surprising. Elon even went to X and posted the following: "Being a free speech advocate these days is increasingly feeling like a Kobayashi Maru problem." So an unwinnable scenario, right? Good Star Trek reference. Well done. In fact, William Shatner came out and retweeted that, and he's like, well, at least we know Elon's a Star Trek fan. Then let's get to William Shatner, though, for a second, because I think when you see all of the different statements that people are making from, people on on all parts of the political spectrum, really, who are pushing for free speech, they see this as an attack, right? Tucker Carlson and everyone else are like, oh my gosh, this is a massive attack. Then William Shatner posts this. The CEO of Telegram was arrested today in France for failing to moderate his platform. Good. They do nothing to prevent fraud and scams. I'm tired of the scammers who use that platform to pretend they are me. And then he goes on to publish a series of images of people pretending to be William Shatner in order to get money out of people, right? People use William Shatner's name and image and likeness to scam other individuals out of quite a bit of money. And apparently this has been an ongoing issue where William Shatner and his people have been trying to get Telegram to do something about it, even just take down one account at a time, right? Not even sweeping things, just like, hey, this is a scam account, take it down. And Telegram won't. And I've heard this actually quite a bit about Telegram is it's filled with people impersonating other people, engaging in scams and all sorts of things. And I'm gonna read another post that I found over on X to you now from VX Underground, because it kind of it represents the other side of the coin here. Regarding Pavel Durov, the apprehension of the CEO of Telegram, there is a difference between freedom of speech and freedom of consequences. Indeed, Mr. Durov provides a platform used by journalists and individuals communicating under tyranny. However, because Mr. Durov is the CEO of a large communications platform, his organization is subject to different territories' judicial rulings. Virtually every single country on the planet has regulations in place which define the responsibilities of the entity, i.e. the organization, and the rules they must introduce to prohibit illegal behavior. Some countries are more restrictive, others are more lax. It is no surprise, really, France, and surely other countries beyond France, believe Mr. Durov must be held responsible excuse me, for the behavior of its end users. This is not a debate of free speech, as it falls within the scope of liability of end user behavior. For example, we are aware of the Wagner Group openly recruits people on Telegram. Now, should Wagner Group be allowed on Telegram? Many countries despise this group, whereas other countries like this group and praise their actions. We are sure our Western colleagues may find that shocking. If they are allowed to use Telegram, to what end can they operate? Is Mr. Durov responsible for their actions which violate laws in different regions? This is not a rhetorical question. Each country provides people, each country, people from different geographical locations, philosophical beliefs, religions, and personal experiences will answer this question differently. Moreover, because some people who have condemned Telegram for being a drug market, this is nothing new to social media platforms. It is commonplace for many social media platforms such as Facebook and Instagram to find people advertising drug sales. This is very true. The preliminary difference is Telegram is less likely to cooperate with Western governments, and Telegram does not fall within the reach of Western governments. Meta, for example, Facebook and Instagram, cooperate with law enforcement on both a local and federal level for nearly every single country on the planet. We have no comment on the debate on end-to-end encryption. We use Signal. We'll let someone privy to privacy stuff to take that lead. This is just our pseudo-educated, still ignorant comment on a very complex problem which will continue to plague companies as things become more global. And now what was amazing is, so VX Underground posted that and got a lot of attention and got a lot of hate. I mean, people just were mad at VX Underground for not coming out and being pro freedom of speech enough in that statement, which was somewhat fascinating. Now, I want to touch on one thing that this really got to, and that is that many platforms out there, many of them, are are currently facing the same issues that Telegram is. In that, people use Telegram to sell and buy drugs, people use Telegram to distribute child pornography and the like, including human trafficking happens on all of these platforms. So the question comes out is, why are not all of these platforms being treated in a similar way? Let me see if I've got this here. Not that one. Not that one. Not there we go. Someone made a comment online. Why don't they arrest Mark Zuckerberg for enabling child predators? Right now, we have a huge amount of information that shows that Facebook and Instagram does distinctly enable child pornography and the like. And Elon Musk replied with this: because he already caved into censorship pressure. Instagram has a massive child exploitation problem, but no arrest for Zuck as he censors free speech and gives governments backdoor access to user data. The implication here is that yes, is Facebook and Instagram, are they committing some of those exact same crimes that Telegram is? Yes, they are. But Facebook and Instagram, Meta in general, they're playing ball with the government. They provide a useful tool for the government, so the government doesn't want to take them out. Right? That is a common thing there. And I want to point this out because I think this is something that I don't think it's talked about enough. According to a study that was done 2 years ago, and I talked about this at the time, it was found that the Fediverse, right, the Mastodon and that whole federated open source social network, the majority of content that existed as of 2 years ago on that platform is kiddie porn, is child pornography, is pornography of underage people. And that is the majority of content as of 2 years ago on that platform. And it hasn't gotten that much better. In fact, the platform is rather disgusting and putrid. Now, the question being, and someone posted this, did the authorities do anything about Mastodon or nah? And Elon Musk chimed in because he noticed it too and said, nope, nothing happened. Now, what's interesting here is, Mastodon would be easy to take criminal action against, right? There are simple individuals running Mastodon servers. You go after a small handful of people, you take out all of Mastodon, right? Yet no criminal activity appears to be levied against Mastodon or the Fediverse. Why? I don't know. This is a fair question to be asking. The main developers behind Mastodon continue to get paid for developing Mastodon, and Mastodon is primarily used for the distribution of child pornography. That's its purpose. I mean, you can't say that it's not its primary purpose when that's what it's majorly used for. Now, granted, a lot of people use Mastodon, the Fediverse, for a lot of different things that are very much legitimate and not at all illegal. But it's mostly used for illegal activities. And if you go over to Mastodon, you begin to see that. I mean, it is the way. It's kind of gross. It's a giant cesspool of perversion of 90% of the servers over on Mastodon. But again, nothing really is happening there, right? And there's no legal action happening against it. And what exactly is the reason for that? Again, it comes back to, is Telegram simply a large enough target combined with being an easy enough target that it's the one that gets thwacked? I mean, clearly, the European Union and others have been kind of going after X for some time now, increasingly since Elon took it over from when it was Twitter, because Elon has pushed forward more of a free speech platform. Now, this brings up a huge number of questions. One, what is the motivation of the French authorities in making the arrest of Pavel Durov? Right? Let's go back here to the list of the charges here. Now, these charges are legitimate. I mean, they are. I mean, whatever you or I or anyone else think about the importance of Telegram and other platforms in a free and open society and in the dissemination of free information, there isn't really much point in denying the fact that Telegram is used for significant illegal activities, distribution of controlled substances, human trafficking, child pornography, and many others. That's well documented and not really disputable at this point. So has Telegram taken action to stop those things? It doesn't look like it. Telegram has a reputation of not taking action to stop impersonation, illegal activity, fraudulent activity, and whatnot. It has that reputation, right? So should Telegram be legally liable for what happens on its platform? And this is a fairly reasonable debate, and one that is constantly raging, is, are these platforms liable for what happens on them? Or, even getting a little more nuanced here, are they simply liable for at least making some effort to stop known illegal activity? And that's usually where the law comes down currently. For example, on X and Facebook and various other platforms, are there illegal activities that are going on those platforms every single day? Absolutely. Absolutely there are. It's if you just do enough searches, you'll find them on your own. However, those platforms do respond to legal requests. They do respond, perhaps not very well, perhaps a little bit too well. You can make a lot of debates here, but they do respond to subpoenas. They do respond to requests from lawyers and judges and government agencies suggesting that, hey, these specific accounts or these specific posts are disseminating child pornography or engaging in drug trafficking, right? And so those platforms do indeed respond to that. And so by and large, you don't see their founders being arrested. Telegram has a reputation for just kind of ignoring all of that, right? And so now it has resulted in their founder being arrested. It's difficult to look at the list of charges, some of which I'll debate on, but some of which are very clearly not good things. And should the operator of any reasonably legitimate platform like Telegram take action against known large-scale distributors of child pornography? Should they do that? Yeah, they should. Should they be held legally liable if they have known about distribution and enacting of illegal activities on their platform and they do absolutely nothing about it? Okay, yeah. So let's bring this back to the real world for a moment. Let's say the internet doesn't exist, right? Let's go back in time to the 1960s or something, right? And let's say you want to distribute illegal drugs and kiddie porn. Okay. So you take out an ad in the classified section of the local newspaper saying, hey, I sell drugs. It's illegal. Come and get them. Here's my phone number. Here's my address. Come and get them. And the newspaper takes your money and prints your advertisement, prints your classified ads. They'll take your money for that, right? And so the newspaper is then profiting off of you doing that. And the newspaper knows that you're doing that and continues to take your money, right? They continue to profit off of it in some way. And then the government comes to the newspaper and says, you got to stop doing that. They're committing a crime, and you're publicizing their crime. You're trying to help them here. And the newspaper says, I don't hear you, and does that for multiple years on end. At some point, that newspaper is going to get sued into oblivion, right? Or someone's going to get arrested. At some point, yes, that newspaper, the publishers of that newspaper are committing a crime at some point, right? You could make a reasonable argument for saying, at first they didn't know, but once they knew, and they had lots and lots of time to take very simple actions, and they simply refuse to, and they've been notified repeatedly about it. They just constantly want to profit off of those illegal activities. Eventually, yeah, the head of that newspaper's head's gonna roll. That's just the way it's gonna work. And I think the same general legal thought is going to have to go into these digital online platforms, including with Telegram. Did Telegram really screw up by not just allowing, but almost in some ways encouraging lots of illegal behavior by not doing anything about them? Yeah, they did. Am I deeply concerned with governments going after any publication and communications platform? Deeply. Oh my gosh, yes. Every single red flag and alarm bell is going off in my mind right now about what this could mean, not just for Telegram, but for other platforms as well. I don't want to see more of the likes of Brazil going after individuals and publishing platforms, which it's been doing like crazy. I don't want to see the EU and France going after so many. If Germany's been doing it as well, and just going after these platforms for publishing ideas. Like I'm worried about that. We see that happening in China and all over the place. That is concerning to me, deeply concerning to me, as a person that publishes content that gets criticized. My content gets yelled about regularly, to the point where in large communities in the technology world, if you simply say my name, you get banned. I'm literally, it's a bannable offense in like half of the open source and Linuxy world. If you just say my name too loudly, you get yourself kicked out and permanently banned for life. So when I'm sitting in this position, any sort of attack on any publishing platform makes me freak out a little bit. But I have to stop myself and think, okay, what is the real motivation behind the arrest of Pavel Durov here? Is there a legitimate reason for his arrest and questioning? Yes, there is. Whatever I think about it, yes, there is. Do I think it's possible that there is ulterior motives for arresting Pavel Durov, the CEO of Telegram? Yeah, I think that's possible. I mean, come on. I mean, how often does a government do something, or a large corporation, they do a thing for a reason, but then they tell you they did it for a different reason? Like, how often does that happen? Fairly often. I mean, so is that happening in this case? I don't know. Can I say I have my personal thoughts, but I can't say for certain. I want to leave on one additional thought. There are a lot of people who ascribe very political leanings and accusations to all of this, right? Saying that people of one particular political persuasion is responsible here. Like people on the left are trying to silence information, and people on the right are trying to silence something, right? Like you see attacks being levied like that fairly regularly. And I want to just put this into people's heads, that it's a little more complicated than that, and even a little bit weirder than that. Case in point, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF. Now, the EFF has not weighed in on this topic yet, and they surely will. I'm sure by week's end, we'll hear from the EFF. But the EFF is an extraordinarily left-leaning organization, right? They write blog posts about how evil Donald Trump is. They tweet about how evil Donald Trump is and how great Democrats are, right? Like they're an extraordinarily deeply political organization, deeply political, right? Like politics is almost more important to the EFF than anything else. However, the EFF errs on the side of extreme freedom unless it's political. This gets really interesting. The EFF has come out and made various wishy-washy thoughts about political censorship. But when the topic of children come up, the EFF always stands firmly on the side of children should have access to adult pornography and material. It's very, very fascinating here. And the reason I bring this up, for example, the KOSA Act, the Kids Online Safety Act. It was a bill going through the United States. And the idea behind KOSA was really simple. Well, it's actually complicated and highly debatable, but the core idea was little kids, minors, should not have access to age-restricted material on the internet. So adult entertainment. They shouldn't be able to buy adult-only material like alcohol or any of those sorts, or cigarettes, right? Anything that's age restricted, they shouldn't have access to. That's the idea of COSA. Now, the implementation we can argue about, but that's the general idea. And this isn't the first act of its kind over the last many years that have come out that have tried to keep. The idea is keep kids safe online, right? Keep kids away from adult material. Now, every time those come out, the EFF comes out strongly opposed to any bill that stops kids from seeing pornography. Every single time, right? So what's really going to be fascinating to see here, because again, the EFF is extremely left-leaning, is Telegram. The CEO just got arrested because of distribution of kiddie porn. My guess is the EFF will come out strongly against the French government, right? Strongly against the French government and in support of Telegram, because the EFF, kids and sex and stuff, the EFF likes that sort of thing. They support that sort of thing. And even though the EFF is strongly left-leaning, which I think most of us are under the impression that that is the case throughout a lot of these organizations in France, they're going to come out against these French judicial organizations. Normally, I don't think they necessarily would, but because of the specific charges against Telegram, I'm going to guess that the EFF is going to come out in support of Telegram here. It's fascinating watching the individual organizations and where they come down on things, because the left versus right political leanings, they don't really matter as much as you'd think. The specifics of an individual's core beliefs, like protect children, not protect children, enforce the law, not enforce the law, give government power, don't give government. Those sorts of things seem to matter more than being left or right leaning, which you'd think there'd be a very distinct parallel, but at least in a lot of these organizations, such as with the EFF, there really isn't. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. Now, this story is going to evolve a lot over the coming days. We're going to have to follow it very, very closely, and it could have really dramatic ramifications for a large number of platforms. It really and truly could. And I guarantee you there's a lot of writers and podcasters and live streamers and videographers that are out there thinking, oh my gosh, I have got to start self-hosting. I've got to stop hosting on Telegram or X or YouTube or Facebook or any of these things, because at any moment my platform could be struck down in a massive and major way. And they're looking to keep their content online for as many people as possible. And so you're going to see that more and more talked about, and the pros and cons therein. All right. This is a big one. This is a big one. Thank you for following through all this with me. And with that, and thank you to everyone who helps to support the Lunduke Journal and make all of this possible. What's wonderful about the Lunduke Journal being supported by all of you instead of by any one platform or by advertisements or by companies is if governments came after a platform and said, I'm going to nuke this platform from orbit, the Lunduke Journal would survive. We would just simply move to a different platform, right? We'd go to self-hosting or something. And being flexible like that is truly a gift. And thank you. It is not lost on me how wonderful that is. And so thank you to all of you who subscribe to the Lunduke Journal. Go to lunduke.com, where you can always find the latest links to get everything from the Lunduke Journal, or lunduke.locals.com, unless you're in Brazil. Let's bring that back up. Unless you're in Brazil. And then I don't know what to tell you. If you go to lunduke.com, shoot, even some of my links are up on Locals. There are places. Look, search for Lunduke. You'll find me on podcast aggregators and all over the place. But I know it's hard for people in Brazil because the Brazilian government kind of sucks right now. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast.